Hi. So I did a healing today on a woman who lost her 24-year-old son. And they came through the healing. Her son was watching on while her mother, who's passed, talked for a while. And I want to just relay the information that came through from her mom. Mom was an incredible, just very grounded, amazing. Well, everybody's amazing, I guess. And so the 24-year-old son looked on and took it all in, all the information. So what's cool, the mother said, the mother who was passed, said, that when you're in your life, when you're looking at your life, if things feel awful, if things feel bad or not good in some way, she'd had an act. She spoke a different. Well, that doesn't matter. Anyway, she said, and then she reminded me. She said, when you're suicidal, your life is this big, so everything is this. It's like right in front of you. You can only see this much. It's always a pushed back perspective that gives you more peace and more of a feeling of things are good, but not good or bad. So you don't want to judge. But so she said there's two ways you can do it. So if you're feeling like, everything's awful, you can pull your perspective back so you can look at everything from farther away. But you can also, that's like distance wise, but then you can also do it time wise. So it's almost like, it's like you imagine that you died and now you're looking back on your life. Because what she was saying was basically that the client, because she lost her son at 24, so things can happen where you say, and she brought up, there's this book or this story where a woman prays for a child and then prays to God for a child, gets the child, has the baby, is very happy, and then the child dies, and then the woman's mad at God. Why did you give me a baby only to take it away? Like you can feel like, I wish you never gave me that at all, if you're going to take it away. So we get this idea, this human perspective sort of seems like, if whatever it was going to be taken away from me, I wish I never even got it. So it would have been better if I never even got it. And so this mom who's passed was saying to her daughter, don't look at your child's life this way. That's a human perspective. It's a human folly. The first time I ever used the word folly, but it's a human folly to think, well, that the loss of that was just so painful that I wish I never got it in the first place. And she also said there's no such thing as loss. So it's just a shift. He's still here. He's just shifted his state. He's in a different state. There's a shift in state. And so she said, pull back and then look at it and enjoy. You still have the pictures of him. You still have the memories of him. And enjoy those memories and those photos. And then it's just changed. So you can't hug him. You can't physically hug him now, but you also don't have to worry about him now. Because there was worries. And then, if you imagine that your child got some kind of a job working at the North Pole for like the next 30 years, 50 years, like after you'd passed and they were happy. They were working in this place. It's kind of like that. It's like they're still somewhere. They're just not right there. And then the mom said, and so she said, you can either pull back and like look at your life from a farther back perspective, or you can imagine that you've passed and then you're looking back on the whole course of your life. So you can get the distance by physical distance, like pulling back your perspective. So you're seeing it from a farther away, or you can use a time, like Reiki. We do that. I teach this in Reiki too, distance healing. So time and distance are really the same in the way that we buy into them and we create that concept, and then we buy into like farther away. But when you do a distance healing, the person is right in front of you. And then time, like before I went in the hospital to have my daughter, I made a healing for myself, months before, and then I pulled that healing into myself when I went into the hospital months later. So she says you can pull back your perspective as if you passed, and then you're looking at it that way. And she said that way is a good way to go, because you set yourself up for your life review, because after you die you get a life review. So the other point she made, which I thought was really neat, was so she says, well, when did I die? And her daughter, I said, when did your mother pass? 20 years ago. And then the son was recent. And she said, you have pretty much no issues really with the mom passing now. So the mother passed and was older, and it was 20 years ago. And then now the son passed, he was younger, and it was recent. She said, ideally, it would be great if you could allow both the passings, the old lady, the mom, and the young son that was recent, to be equal. Like, just allow it to be that this soul lived its existence, this soul lived its existence. And she didn't call it a soul, which this was cool. This is the first time I've ever heard this used. She called the soul a chunk, what was it? A chunk of, like a chunk of universal energy or something like that. I can't remember now what it was, but she said, this unique expression of the universe that played the role as her mother passed 20 years ago, and this unique chunk of universal energy who played the role as her son passed recently, and look at all kind of without any resistance and any attachment, and allow it to be that these two chunks of the universal energy made their choices, lived out their life in the way that they chose. And then you can have more peace, because you're not making one worse than the other. What was another thing she said? She just had so much to say. That's my neighbor. I don't know if he wants to be on camera, so I'll block him out. Oh God, she was just so cool. She just, she said, love and appreciate every choice that soul made, whether it was in physical life or is past now. So this chunk of the universe came in to live out this existence as her son, and it made choices throughout its life, and then to just not identify and with the son and the choices, just allow that chunk of the universal consciousness its choices, and then allow the whole life as he lived it to be one thing then the next. So don't pick it apart like, well, he did these things good and then he did these things bad. He made these good choices and then he made these bad choices. And then this one bad choice ruined everything. She said, don't pick apart that soul's life. Respect that life as it came in, it made the choices it was going to make, and then it left. And just allow that life to be one solid, one existence, one fabric. That's right. So it was like fabric of the tapestry of life. Each single one each one of us are alive. She said, like, don't pick things apart, like, because then it's like distasteful. It's kind of oh gosh, it was like gross to her. Like, if dismembering someone's life is like when they do an autopsy and then they leave all the stuff out. She's like, just let each existence be as it was and allow that soul its own choices, including when it left and how it left. And you may look at it and you say, that was a horrible choice, and then he ripped him, then he's not with us anymore. So you get this idea that you get this attachment of the way you think your life was supposed to go, that your kid is still supposed to be alive. And instead, allow it to be that soul's choice, each choice. And every day, there's so many choices to be made. And people want to think that they want to make other people's choices for them and live their, they think like, I wish those people over there would stop doing this, or I wish those people over there would start doing this, or I wish my kid would just do this, or I wish my kid would stop doing that. And if you can let go of that and just realize you really only truly want, your soul only wants to really make its own choices for its own self, and it wants to respect and allow the other chunks of the universal energy to have its own life or its own experience in physical existence as it sees fit. And so, and allowing each chunk of the universal energy to live out its unique expression of the same energy, it becomes its own strand, and then all of our lives are woven together. It was really cool. There's no way to put it into words what I get to feel. So I hope this makes sense. I need to do more of these where I tell you what dead people say the coolest stuff. So whatever you can take from that, I'm sorry for your loss if you're listening to this because you lost somebody. I'm really sorry for your loss. And like she says, watch the whole judgment of good and bad. And I am going to do a Tao thing starting in January because all of our pain starts with judgment. It all starts with a judgment of good or bad. And by allowing her son to have made all the choices he made from the moment he took a physical existence until the moment he left, and then allowing his life to stay intact without trying to pick it apart and say what was good and what was bad, and she just has a respect for that existence of the chunk of universal energy, divine universal energy that played the role, held the identity of her son, allowing that life to stay intact and respecting it from start to finish, and then enjoying the memories that you have of that existence that wove its little fiber along with yours. And again, they always say the same thing. They always say your life is so short that you won't believe it. When you get to the other side, when you die, you won't believe how short your actual physical existence was. And so they can't understand why people spend so much time thinking it's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame. And she says, we're over here in spirit looking at you guys saying it's a shame, it's a shame, this, it's a shame, it's a shame. And we're looking at you guys going, it's a shame, it's a shame. The real shame is how much you say it's a shame. There's so much to do in physical life, and you keep it's so easy to manipulate you people, and you just focus on it's a shame, it's a shame. And we're looking at you from spirit saying, it's a shame. The real shame is how much you say it's a shame. That's a shame. Live. The bus is here. Love you.